Yeah, let's see. Women deserve less?
Women deserve less. Change my mind, yes.
Why do you think women deserve less?
Well, there's a bunch of different reasons, but I would say to make it nice and simple, we got too many simps out here.
What's the constant variable of what they currently have of deserving that they should deserve less of?
Oh, look, she flipped the middle finger off. She's so mad. Can't defend your ideas. Just got to put a middle finger up, I see. So sorry, what was that question?
Yeah, I said, what's that constant variable that
big fat black woman
deserve, that have that?
And guys, I love when people be like, "Oh my God, he's always talking about we're 80% of y'all are obese." That's a statistic. Look it up. And 80% of that is overweight.
Fatality.
So when I say that, I'm saying that from statistics. I'm not really making fun of you. I'm just saying, typical.
You think they should?
Typical.
What's that they have right now that they're getting?
Too much attention.
That they're getting.
Too much resources.
So here's the thing: they get preferential treatment. They're able to be treated like a lady while simultaneously zero consequence. They could basically double dip. So another can enjoy the benefits of being treated like a lady, right? Enjoy chivalry and traditional male standards, like men treating them like ladies, while simultaneously they can also behave rude, erratic, crass, with zero consequence.
Can't men do the same thing?
No, we can't. We're actually held to standards unlike women.
Right, you go act like a dickhead in front of people, niggas gonna be like, bro, get the fuck away from me.
You think so?
Yes.
For
example, you, right? How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. So, who do you think is gonna have more value in society, you or a 20-year-old girl?
Depends which 20-year-old girl, because me, physically, I work my ass off and I'm, focused and do what I need to do. I'm sure there's a woman that's 20 years old that does the same thing.
Okay, here's the beauty.
There's a majority that
you said you work your ass off, right?
Of course.
Why do you work your ass off?
I mean, because I don't ever want to have my mom working a day in her life. That's all it is.
So there's a burden of performance on you, right? You have to work.
Have to. No one has to work.
Well, if you didn't work, your status would decrease. Fair?
Not necessarily. Nowadays, no.
Yeah, it would decrease. So the reason why you're working is because you kind of know it's like an unspoken reality that men have to perform. But if I took a 20-year-old girl, she doesn't have to work. You do. That's my point.
I mean, working is one thing, because women, they can work in other ways. It doesn't just have to be like a 9-to-5 making money. They can work in supporting and doing things around the house.
Work in what?
They don't have to work monetarily.
Turn up the speaker. You got to turn up the speaker because it's coming in very, very low. Yeah, let's turn up that speaker. Sorry.
For example, if you have a team of people, not every single person is just bringing in money. Someone helps someone else to support them throughout their daily life, to assist them to make that money. So let's say if I had a woman that was, living with me and she was my girlfriend, she doesn't need to make money as long as she makes my life easier to be able to make money. And that's just as much as a help as me making.
But the difference, my nigga, the difference is, my nigga, you can't do that. You can say, well, babe, how about you go make the money and I'll just help around the house and cook and clean and shut up. You can't do that, brother. That's what he's saying. You gotta be the nigga that can make the money. You can't flip it around and she's the nigga that make the money, because guess what? She gonna get a nigga that make the money. Stupid.
Here's the difference. It wouldn't work the other way around. That's my point.
Dumb
if
motherfucker.
she worked and you helped her out behind the scenes,
why not?
It probably wouldn't work.
It's not probably. It's not gonna work. And if it does, it's temporary. It's temporary. This shit is not working. And if she do that, it's temporary. But I doubt she do.
Because women don't like to provide for men long term.
It depends on the situation. Depends on the person.
90+% of women do not want to be a breadwinner for a man ever.
That's not true.
That's propaganda, feminist propaganda. Women, if they out-earn their man, or they're in a position where they're in a leadership role, there's a very high likelihood they will leave you.
My mother's a perfect example of that. It's the complete opposite, so I don't
Is she with your dad still?
Of course.
Okay, and how long have they been married?
They got married, high school sweethearts, since they were, I believe, 18. They got married, moved here together.
And was your mom the breadwinner the entire time?
They were 50-50.
Okay, and then what is it now? Now she's the breadwinner?
At first, it was my dad. Well, basically, my mom went to school, my dad worked. Then my mom worked because she got her degree, and my dad
through school.
Then went to school. And now they both work, and I would say that my mom has a more consistent and, makes more money than my dad. And that completely discredits to a point of what you're saying, because there's a degree where my dad wasn't working assisting her.
Well, you also got to understand that anecdotal evidence, like based on your own personal experience, doesn't necessarily reflect the rest of the
No, I
world. So
agree.
though that might be your situation with your parents, which is
Right, that might be a great situation for your parents. Also, you said dad found her high school sweetheart, so that's what, 19 something? 1970? She doesn't have fucked up brain yet. Her brain ain't fucked up. Her brain ain't feminized, westernized yet, okay?
is great. A lot of the times that's just not the reality. And the other thing also that you need to understand is that your father was the breadwinner for a significant amount of time in the relationship.
How do you know it's significant? What if I say 2 years?
Well, those 2 years is where she was able to go to school, right?
And vice versa when he went to school.
Okay, but he put her through school. So he allowed her to basically be able to go to school, and
she put him through school. Yes,
that's
they both
very
put
important.
Each other through school.
That's very, very important. That's a pertinent fact to the situation. But again, like I said before, women, right, are not going to provide long term for men the same way that men will provide long term for women. Also, I think it's important to understand that your parents had a longer relationship, so by the time that everything planned out and she's being the breadwinner, she's a bit older. She might not be able to enter the dating marketplace the same level.
Can you elaborate on the word provide?
I'm sorry?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by provide?
You said she was the majority breadwinner, right?
Disregard what my situation was in my family. I want you to elaborate and describe what you mean providing, a woman providing is. What do you see that as?
The reality is this, man. So, I know this is considered politically incorrect to say this, but most women do not want to be the breadwinner for men. They just don't. Now, they'll sit there and have the feminist propaganda and say, I'm a boss bitch and I'll make a bunch of money and I'll do X, Y, Z. But the reality is when women say I'm independent, you got to ask yourself, who are they independent of? It's men. They do that to say, I don't need a man, and they make that money for themselves. When a man makes money, he says, how can I have a family? When a woman makes money, she says, I don't need a man. Completely different mindsets when we make a certain amount of money.
So providing, essentially, you're talking about monetarily when it comes to money.
Yes, when it comes to, yes, being a breadwinner. Men are far more comfortable and built to provide for women than women are for men. If a woman is in a provider situation, the likelihood of that relationship falling apart is very high. Now, there's some situations like yours where it was able to work. But I do think it's important to understand that your dad had a bit of equity there where he helped her get to the position that she's at. So there's some level of reciprocity there. Now, she's making the money. But in most situations, women are not okay with providing long-term for men, especially now.
So on a follow-up question, you're talking about providing as a woman or a man is just monetary. What would success look like for you as a human being?
For me?
As a human being, what does success look like?
Having a nuclear family, having a woman that respects you and obeys you. You make the decisions, you're the head of the household, and bringing it back to what it was before.
Right.
But this whole equal partnership stuff that we push out there, it's not true. It's all a lie.
So you're saying being able to support and have a woman that supports you is what success looks like for you as a human.
Yeah, as a man, yeah, being able to protect and provide for your family and have a woman that loves and takes care of you and respects you. What else do you want, brother? Shit, sounds like a good life to me.
Yes, you support financially, and obviously you're the bedrock, and she takes care of the children in the home, and have defined gender roles. I think that's very important.
And as a person, what would you be happy with yourself? Let's say you're on your deathbed and you're looking back. What would you look back on and say, wow, that was success?
I think when you're looking at your deathbed, the only thing that matters looking back is, did you create a legacy and do you have a family?
Right. Like, did you leave something for your family and did you create something for them for your name to be remembered?
I think you want to be on that deathbed with people surrounding you that you've helped create to some degree.
So what if, let's say on my deathbed, I have $100 million there, and when I look back, I was like, damn, I was a shitty person. I didn't do a lot of things. I wasn't so wise. I wasn't so
kind. Most these bitches, exactly.
But instead, you maybe had that same amount of money, but you had a woman that instilled those values in you and your family. I think that's worth more than any $100 million could count for.
I agree. I think less money and a family is far more important than more money and no family. I agree.
And a woman brings that.
I agree. All right, thank you. Who's up next?
Said, and a woman brings that. Brother, you're so cooked out right now. You can't even think about the argument. Like, obviously, women bring kids into the world. We're talking about choosing the right one, dumbass.
Stupid.